All right, and we are live. Welcome, everybody who's watching live to Monday Night Live. Waiting for a few people to join the show. As you hop on, guys, let us know where you're tuning in from. We've got a session today, which I'm sure you're going to enjoy. I've got Elliot Epstein joining me from COVID Central in Victoria. Welcome, Elliot. So I'll just give you a brief introduction. Elliot and I did a podcast recently on Elliot's show, which was specifically about how to do business in these times which we're in, and talk about how to get more customers on LinkedIn. Elliot and I have a lot of synergies because Elliot trains B2B companies on how they can improve their sales system, sales process, get more results from the leads that they are generating. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And on that note, if you do have questions about sales, drop them in the comments as we're going to address as many as we can. Welcome, Arlene. Elliot, I've got to pass the mic over now. Welcome to the show, mate. How are you feeling over there in Victoria?
Good. Yeah, I'm sure you're canning every Victorian that you speak to right now. Look, we're surviving. Yes, we are in lockdown too. It's not fun. We've got mandatory masks starting in 2 days' time, and the world's come to an end as we know it. But it's beautiful out there. We can walk the dog. We can do business. We can talk to people. We can go online, and we're getting through it pretty well. I think the government makes it sound a little worse, quite frankly. Most Victorians are getting on with it.
Yeah, awesome. A few more people joined. Michael, Karen, welcome. Elliot, I always like to start with these Monday Night Lives with, just hearing your story, how you got into what you do. Do you consider yourself more an entrepreneur or more of a salesperson? Just tell us a bit about how you got started in what you do.
Okay, so I'll give you a bridge journey, because as you can see, with a few grey hairs, it goes back a little while. So I started life at the ripe old age of 19 as a baby salesman. That's not selling babies, but a junior who knew absolutely nothing in the office supplies and equipment business. And I literally knew nothing, and I had a couple of great mentors who took me under their wing, given how green I was, and basically threw me out there to the wolves and gave me a little bit of training and a lot of mentorship. And within 18 months, I'd become number one in the country, and then got offered other opportunities in the business. And that was the start of my sales career. In fact, I became a sales manager at the ripe old age of 22. And I made every mistake known to mankind. I was probably the worst sales manager that ever lived back at that time. I had 4 people reporting to me who were an average age of 40. And you can imagine what that was like. But it was just a great, you don't get these opportunities now. And it was just a great opportunity to make lots and lots of mistakes and then succeed as well and figure out what worked. And I spent, as that progressed, I spent 15 years ultimately in the IT industry in sales, and then a real sales management job. And my last real job was sales director of a $200 million IT company. And a little secret, along the journey of my sales career, I'd been performing. So I worked professionally as a stand-up comic, mostly in the corporate arena.
No way.
For over a decade. So professional in that, getting paid doing it professionally, but obviously having a sales job, I couldn't do it every day. But I did that for a lot of large companies and was on radio and did a lot of other work around that space. So the natural coming together of performing and then sales and sales management morphed itself at some point into a pay or get off the pot moment, which was to continue down the path of sales management and potentially be a CEO of an IT company, for example, which I didn't think I was particularly well suited for. And so I left and I joined a multinational and shifted into what I really loved, which was getting more out of people and developing people and seeing the rewards out of coaching people. And I spent 4.5 years in a multinational, coaching, consulting, and training around sales, negotiation, presentation skills. Until the final piece of the puzzle was when when the bean counters move into those multinationals and decide to do things differently, and then I literally I started my own consultancy, Salient Communication, on my 40th birthday, and away it went from there.
Yeah, amazing. I didn't know that about your stand-up comic career.
No one does.
They must serve you well in your presentations.
Yeah, well, I'm a keynote speaker as well as a specialist sales coach. So obviously being on stage, I've got those skills behind me, having put in thousands of hours before that. So it stands you in good stead to not only speak, but to impro, ad lib, and all those things that you learn from having done that. And to have fun with the audience, which I think too many corporate presentations don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to tweak my presentations to have a bit more comedy in them. Whether or not they get through to the audience is another story.
Yeah. So in the old days, they used to use jokes. No one wants jokes unless they're absolutely red hot. It's about having fun. It's about having fun with yourself.
Yeah.
Not taking yourself too seriously, and being committed to the subject, but having fun with the subject at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if you've just tuned in, just drop in in the comments there where you're joining us from. I'm always fascinated by the different we got somebody here from France, Baldwin, Melbourne, Mount Albert. Funniest man alive, says Shil Shangavi. Bless him. Always good to see familiar faces here.
He loves you.
Is there anyone else from Melbourne tuning in? There must be more of you, surely.
Well, there should be, because there's nothing else to do.
So, Elliot, that's a fascinating story. And so you must be, has business slowed down, picked up, or you've been smooth sailing through COVID?
Yeah, well, interesting. The first 2 weeks of COVID, obviously all my live events, coaching, training programs were immediately cancelled, like everybody else that's involved in any of this kind of work. So I'm sitting there scratching my head, talking to the dog and trying to figure out what we were going to do for a living. I contemplated for about 5 minutes getting an Uber license, and then I figured no one's going to the airport. So there was little point doing that. And then quite seriously, after 2 weeks, everyone kind of woke up and went, you know what, we actually need techniques, approaches, ideas, fresh thought, fresh thinking into how we're going to keep our revenue, retain our clients, how we're going to grow our business in a time of COVID. And all of a sudden we just shifted literally to online. So from literally, it was 14 days. And then we got bookings through clients in Singapore, in the UK, in right across Australia, in Sydney, Queensland, Melbourne, and it's kicked on. So yes, it's been really busy over the last few months doing that. And because one main reason, which is, I don't talk fluff with clients. I don't have lots of frameworks. I don't have 16-step modules. I've got literally now over 22 years experience of coaching, consulting. There aren't too many sales scenarios I haven't seen in that time, and I've worked on some of the biggest multi-million-dollar pitches that have been.
All right, Elliot, you've frozen for me. Are you there? Are you there, Elliot? So it seems to be frozen for me. Is it frozen for you guys as well? Just let me know in the chat if you can see Elliot or not. He's frozen. He's frozen for me. Oh, no, he's coming back.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah. So we can cut to the core issues pretty quickly, rather than talking about fluff, and help clients directly get a result literally within a short space of time.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, I think the first thing that seems to be springing to business owners' minds, especially during COVID, is, we need more leads. We need more leads, and I hear it all the time. What I've noticed is a lot of the times, like these businesses that are saying we need more leads, we need more leads. A lot of the time, when I ask them what their sales process is, they don't have one, which I think it can be very difficult to grow a business when you don't have a systemized approach to sales. Would you agree?
Yeah, so I believe in consistency and commitment to activity, but I'm probably more of a maverick when it comes to the process. So I'm hot on activity. You have to be doing the work. So all the things you talk about in terms of LinkedIn activity, all the marketing, the profile building, the content management on LinkedIn that you specialize in, I'm obviously a big believer in, and that goes into that bucket of feeding the pipeline. But I wrote a book a couple of years ago called Confessions of a Pitch Consultant, and the first chapter pretty much talks about selling in an Australian voice, and the Australian voice is made up of very different characters. We have different backgrounds. We're multicultural. We have people who are very analytical, people who are technical, people are more storytellers. People have come from years of consulting or selling, and other people have come from very different backgrounds like engineering. And I'm not one of those people that believes in sheep dipping. I believe in taking the best you have from an individual and making them shine, whoever he or she is, rather than saying, here's the cookie cutter, here's the 7-step process. Oh, by the way, you missed step 3, so you have to go back and redo that before you can continue. In fact, I've been railing against that kind of formulaic approach for many years because clients are clients and they want real, authentic people, and they want people who can help them and advise them with authenticity. And unless you're yourself, if you fail, you fail after X number of months, years, whatever it is. But you're better off failing being yourself, assuming you've had coaching and development, than trying to be someone else. I think it's a path that I think's been led out of the US. The US drove that kind of formulaic framework for a long time. All those books were written about it, and I think it's not the way that we sell here.
Yeah. Okay. And B2B and B2C, I mean, in my experience, I started off selling villas in Thailand. And so that was a very emotional purchase, I was like asking the kids, which room would yours be? Sit here, imagine you just arrived from the airport, all that kind of thing. And so moving into B2B, there were some new skills I needed to learn, but the more experience I've become, I'm noticing more the similarities than the differences. What are your thoughts on the difference between selling B2C to B2B?
Yeah, it's pretty significant. So B2C is an area I'm probably not that strong in. When you think about consumers and you've got the social media, the advertising market, the marketing and the branding associated with that. Whereas in B2B, I've coached companies that are literally some of the largest companies in the world, and I've coached $500,000 consultancies with a one-man band and treated them equally, because you can sell to any C-level executive. It's all about your value proposition and about how you advise and how you authentically conduct that conversation. So I think the biggest shift, though, over the last few years is that in B2B, if you are still going into meetings focused on what you're selling, you're missing the entire picture. It has nothing to do with you. Selling, by the way, used to be the domain of hiring the ego heads and the people with big personalities who like to have lunch. And those days are gone. Today, if you are not a professional advisor telling people the truth about how you can help them or not, then you're going to suffer in the long run. And the people getting, because we know, as you know from your LinkedIn work, referrals are a huge source of leads, and you only get referrals if you've done a great job. And so, that professional diagnosis is what I coach, and helping salespeople understand that all it is a conversation. The best analogy I can give is that imagine you've got a beer in your hand, which is a nice thought to have, and you're literally sitting there with a client with a beer in your hand, having a conversation. That's all it is. And the only difference is it's a business context instead of talking about the football.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how have you seen things shifted? Like how are your conversations with clients at the moment and, compared to 12 months ago, given the economic climate that we're in, given the need for these conversations through technology, which is, it's pretty, for me, like it's very familiar, but for a lot of businesses, it's a completely new ballgame.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you mentioned the podcast. So I put the podcast out fairly early into COVID, selling in a time of Corona, specifically to cover the issues of what's changed. And each episode was, designed to cover a different topic about how to cope with what to do whilst Corona is eating into everything you've known previously. And, a couple of things that come out of that are that clients are still buying. Clients are still buying products and services, but they may be buying differently. And, one of the episodes, I think the one just before yours, Nathanial, was we had a CIO of Grant Thornton, Andrew, who's terrific. And I asked him as a CIO of a company with over 1,300 employees locally and 50,000 employees globally on the executive team, what do you want? What do you want now that you're in Corona? And he said he wanted transparency that he wasn't getting before. So just be transparent about what you can and can't do. He wanted fresh ideas and fresh thinking, so not just the incumbent way of doing things. And the interesting thing he said, which is the biggest change financially in terms of the commercial acumen applied to these sales, is he wanted cash flow awareness from sellers. So he said, for example, typically you'd come in and sell me a 2-year contract for a solution. Well, I don't know if I can get 2 years worth of commitment out of my company right now. And but if you can let me pay for it month by month and manage the vagaries of Corona with cash flow positive solutions, then it's going to get a look in. And so many so many people selling things are so hung up on the rigidity of the way they used to sell. We only sell this box with this solution. We only sell that service, that maintenance package. Or you can only buy this for $99.99. Why can't you sell it for $49 twice? Or spread it out over a few months? Or instead of 3-year contracts, have 1-year contracts rolling over? There's got to be more flexibility.
Yeah, I think so. I had a similar approach with when it started. We didn't lose any clients. Since we definitely have, we've brought on clients. We haven't really shrunk too much in terms of the amount of business we're doing. But have noticed, I was proactive in saying, we're not going to commit people to 12-month contracts. We're not going to commit people to 6-month contracts because we don't know where their business is going to be. And so having that flexibility has built a lot of trust with existing clients and made it a lot easier for new clients to come on board. And I think that we all have a bias to what worked in the past, and times like this, you need to be flexible in order to not just maintain your business, but also to keep a level of relationship with your clients and to let them know that you understand and you're empathetic.
Absolutely. That empathy is really key. So if you don't genuinely care, I don't mean pretending to care. There's a lot of people that pretend to care. They build fake rapport. They ask about the kids and all that stuff. And really, that kind of 1970s selling has gone by the wayside. I call it the schmooze is dead. So stop trying to be my fake friend. I've got enough friends out there. I don't need someone coming in pretending to be one. But the genuine empathy, like what's going on for you right now? What matters? What do you need from us? Do you need us to run away for 2 months? Because you've got so much on your plate and we're not the top 3 things on the radar. So if you need me to run away for a couple of months and not charge you, then perhaps that's what we should do. Because when you come back in a couple of months, because you've got that time to go and chase other clients, the trust and the empathy that you'll have built will have been so valuable by the time you go back and say, hey, it's been a couple of months. Have you got your feet under the desk a bit better? There might be a couple of ways we can help you out. Let's have another chat.
Yeah. And how's the podcast been? Selling in times of Corona. How have you found that experience?
It was interesting, right? Because as you know, you put this stuff out and you don't know which bits are going to resonate or not. And I've been gobsmacked. It's got thousands of downloads. It's listened to all over the world. I just didn't imagine it would go into Europe and Singapore and people in the States and whatever. And so I'm getting comments from all sorts of places around the world. So it's been pretty cool.
Were you based in Singapore for a while?
No. I have a number of clients there. Okay. I was due to be there before this happened, but no, I've never been based there. No.
Okay. Oh, well, Elliot. If anyone wants to check out Elliot's podcast, I think podcasts are becoming more and more popular at the moment. That's the feeling I'm getting out there. Check out Selling in Times of Corona. There's one of the best episodes ever. It's got me on it. That was my attempt at throwing some humor in there.
It's a good episode.
But thanks for joining us, Elliot. I hope people got some value from that. If you do have any questions, I'm sure Elliot won't mind hopping in the chat on LinkedIn to address those. Do go follow him on LinkedIn and check out the podcast. And we will see you next week on Monday Night Live. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Nathanial.